नमस्कार दोस्तों, मेरा नाम है सीए हेमंत गुप्ता एंड आज मैं आप लोगों के सामने इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड की एक इम्पॉर्टेंट और रीसेंट रेगुलेशन डिस्कस करने जा रहा हूँ। इस रेगुलेशन का नाम है आईबीबीआई रेगुलेशन इन रिलेशन टू प्री पैकेज इंसॉल्वेंसी रेजोल्यूशन प्रोसेस। जैसा कि आप सब लोग जानते हैं कि 9 अप्रैल 2021 को ये रेगुलेशन नोटिफाई हुई। इसके पहले 4 अप्रैल 2021 को ऑर्डिनेंस प्रोमलगेट हुआ था, जिसके अंतर्गत law relating to pre-package insolvency resolution process was notified. So in continuation of that ordinance only this regulation has been notified. So predominantly this regulation is divided into 10 chapters with 51 regulations and 14 forms. So I'll try to discuss this regulation very briefly, and you will find most of or some of the regulation in resemblance to regulation already there which are already there in CIRP regulations. So I'll start with first part of this regulation, which is the first chapter. Nothing new or nothing much is there to be discussed in first part, which basically contains two regulation, short title, and then it contains definition clauses. So definition clauses, there is nothing new in those definition clauses, similar to CIRP definitions. However, there is a one definition provided in relation to applicant, which states that applicant means a corporate applicant who is filing the application for initiation of pre-package insolvency resolution process under section 54C. And then one one definition more is there in this regulation, which states that what is the committee. It basically refers to committee made under section 54I of chapter 3A. So otherwise other definitions are pretty much standard definitions, be it definition of code or committee or electronic means and so on. So I'll move on to regulation 3 of this regulation. Regulation 3 basically states how the meeting are going to be conducted. It basically states the meeting has to be conducted physically or in electronic modes. However, the communication for the meeting has to be in electronic form as far as possible. If for some reason electronic communication is not possible, you may choose another mode of communication, physical or hand deliver or by speed post. So then again, there are three more regulation under this second chapter, which are in relation to essential supply, which is again equivalent to CIRP regulation, which defines essential supply is electricity, water, telecommunication, and IT services, as far as they are not a direct input in relation to output given by corporate debtor. Again, if I move on to regulation 5, it defines what are extortionate credit transaction. So it basically refers to section 50 subsection 2. It says that where the terms are such which require exorbitant payment to be made by corporate debtor, or those terms are such which are of unconscionable nature. So those will be referred as extortionate credit transaction. Then moving on to regulation 6, which defines pre-package insolvency resolution process cost. If you recall, there is a section 5 subsection 23C which was notified pursuant to that ordinance. There was a new definition added in terms of insolvency resolution process cost. There was a clause E of other specified cost. So other specified cost has been defined in this regulation, which means that any fee payable to authorized representative plus his out-of-pocket expenses or other expenses directly approved by COC will form part of pre-package insolvency resolution process cost, along with the other expenses mentioned in section 5 subsection 23C. Okay, now moving on to chapter 3 of this regulation. It basically contains 7 clauses. So I'll start with clause number 7, which basically talks about eligibility of insolvency resolution professional to be appointed as RP in this process. First of all, we need to take his consent, written consent in form P1, and then other standard eligibility criteria as to he should not be related party, he should be, with regard to his independence, he should be independent of corporate debtor, he should not be auditor of corporate debtor in the previous few years, he should not be associated with them in the capacity as a lawyer, so on and so forth, the standard independence clauses to ensure his eligibility. Then regulation 8 is there, which is also very important. It basically talks about fee of resolution professional. What will be the fee of resolution professional? it says that fee of resolution professional shall be paid by corporate debtor in case the corporate debtor is not filing the application for pre-package insolvency resolution process as promised by him within a maximum period of 90 days. Or however, if the application is filed and that application is rejected by adjudicating authority, then also the fee payable to resolution professional shall be borne by the corporate debtor. However, in case this doesn't happen, then corporate debtor is required to maintain a separate bank account under the authority of resolution professional, which will be funded by corporate debtor based on directions given by a committee of creditor from time to time. And as discussed, this account has to be operated by resolution professional. Okay, then moving on to regulation 9. Regulation 9 basically states that access to books of account to resolution professional. So it states that all the partners and directors, as the case may be, they shall provide access to resolution professional or books of account. Then all the statutory authorities who are having any information with regard to corporate debtor, they are supposed to cooperate with the resolution professional. Any depository, intermediaries, any contractual counter third party, they are also provide detail of various transaction to resolution professional, so as to he can get a fair idea about the working of corporate debtor. Okay, and further professionals are also supposed to cooperate with the resolution professional. Professional would also include an auditor, legal professional, or some other professional working with corporate debtor. So now moving on to regulation 10, which talks about appointment of professionals. So as you all know, a resolution professional in discharge of his professional duties is authorized to appoint professionals. But there are few exceptions which is provided under this regulation number 10. So those exceptions are, you cannot appoint any unregulated professional. Okay, the professional need to be registered with some professional body, maybe a company secretary body, CMA, maybe a lawyer. Only those professionals you can appoint. That professional should not be a related party to corporate debtor. That professional should not be a related party to resolution professional, or the director or partner of IPE in which that resolution professional is associated. Or you can also not appoint partner director of IPE in which resolution professional is also there. Neither their relatives can be appointed. So independence has to be maintained while appointing any other professionals in relation to this process. Some minor regulations are also there in relation to disclosure of fee and cost. Those have to be, those disclosure have to be filed with IBBI or maybe IPA in itemized details from time to time as and when directed by them. You have to maintain the records. Next regulation I'm talking about, regulation number 12, you have to preserve the record in physical mode and as well as electronic mode for such period of time as may be directed. And then filing of report and forms. Again, there are various kind of forms, CIRP 1, 2, CIRP 7 and other forms which might be prescribed in relation to this process particularly. So those forms as mandated by IBBI needs to be filed. Now moving on to regulation number 14, which is there in chapter 4, which talks about initiation of the process. There are basically 5 regulations contained in this particular chapter. So regulation 14 basically talks about approval by financial creditor. So what does it say? It starts with saying that corporate applicant has to approach financial creditor for convening a meeting of all the financial creditor, unrelated financial creditor. In that meeting, a notice of 5 days period has to be given for that meeting. However, a shorter waiting period may be agreed by all the financial creditor for the same meeting. That notice would contain date, time, place of the creditor along with the list of creditor. So this list of creditor is important. This list is not a simple list. This list has to be given in form P2, which is prescribed under this regulation, along with the amount due to each creditor. So this regulation further goes on to say that any financial creditor having 10% or more of total amount due can propose a resolution professional out of the IP panel. Further, that approval of resolution professional to be appointed in this process will have to be there in form P3. So what does this form P3 will contain? This form P3 will contain the terms of appointment of that resolution professional, and those terms would be his fee to be paid for initiation period, fee and expenses payable to him for pre-initiation period as per section 54B subsection 1. Then his fee and expenses for this assignment. And third one is his fee and expenses in case management of corporate debtor is going to vest in him from corporate debtor. As you all know, the management of corporate debtor here is not transferred from corporate debtor to resolution professional. However, under certain circumstances, under section 54J, this process happens. So again, the fee is going to be different in that process. So that again has to be mentioned in this form P3. Okay. Again, there is one more approval is required from financial creditors with 66% voting rights. That approval is permission for filing pre-package insolvency resolution application, which needs to be filed by corporate applicant within a period of 90 days. So that approval has to be there in form number P4. So there are 4 forms we have discussed till now. However, a question may arise. Suppose there are no financial creditor, or there are no unrelated financial creditor. Then what will happen? Then the process will move from financial creditor to operational creditor. So again, the whole process is to be repeated by unrelated operational creditor. Okay. So this concludes regulation 14. Now moving on to regulation number 15, which talks about selection of authorized representative. Now you would recollect there is a form P2 which talks about list of creditors. So based on that form P2, resolution professional will determine if there is any class of creditor or not. Suppose if there is any class of creditor, he will identify 3 insolvency professional who he will communicate to the member of that class, and the member of those class of creditor will select one person as their authorized representative. He will take consent of that person in form P5. So this is the 5th form, and he will communicate this to corporate applicant along with copy of form P5, which is to be handed over to corporate applicant. So this is what this regulation number 15 talks about. Then there is a regulation number 16 which basically talks about declaration. You know, there is a provision in section 54A that corporate director or partner of corporate directors have to give declaration under section 54 subsection 2 that there is no malified intention, they will be filing this application in time and so on. So that declaration has to be given in form number P6. Further, they are also supposed to give a declaration whether any preferential, undervalued, fraudulent or extortionate credit transactions are there or not as per their understanding. So how they will give that declaration? That declaration has to be given in format number P7. Now again, moving on to next regulation, which is regulation number 17. It talks about report under section 54 subsection 1. So you know, the resolution professional has to vet the base resolution plan and check whether all the conditions under section 54B are 54B or section 54A are met by corporate debtor or not. So that report has to be given in form number P8. So that has been specified by in this regulation. Then moving on to regulation number 18, which is the last regulation of this chapter. You will recollect under section 54C subsection 3 clause D, there is a provision which says information in relation to books of account as may be specified has to be furnished by corporate applicant. Okay, so that has been specified here. So what is that information? That information is last 2 years audited financial statement, provisional financial statement for the current year up to the date of declaration under section 54A subsection 2 clause F, and then copy of form 5 which is given by authorized representative as consent to act as a AR in this process under regulation 15 sub regulation 5. So this concludes chapter 4 of this pre-package insolvency resolution process regulations. I hope अभी तक हम लोगों ने जितना डिस्कशन इन रेगुलेशंस पे किया है, I have been able to make some sense or in very lucid form for you. For next set of regulations, I will be making another video. Do watch the next video for discussion on further regulations. Thank you so much. This is CA Hemant Gupta signing off.